Howdy, brothers. Welcome to Whiskey and Water. Unfortunately, it is just me, Whiskey, today. Water is out with a case of the blues. So this will be the first time I am ever doing this episode, or this podcast, I think, by myself. So it's going to be an interesting one. I hope you guys love it as much as you normally do. I know Liv normally gives us so much energy and wisdom, but I did my best, so don't come for me. But before we get into that, we have on an amazing guest today. Her name is Lissette. She owns Influence with Impact. She is just an incredible almanac of information about the influencer industry. We talk about rates, negotiating with brands, where to even start, niching down. She just honestly is super incredible. And this is such an amazing episode, especially, again, if you are interested in the influencer industry, this is a must listen. But before we get into that, I am going to do, going to do the deep dive as well as a high and low. And if you guys can't tell, this is incredibly foreign to me. So starting off with my low of the week is doing this podcast by myself. It is so sad, but I miss Olivia. She's doing all right. She is just dealing with some grief, and, she'll be here to talk about it whenever she is ready. But until then, if you guys feel so compelled, please send her some love. I will also include the GoFundMe to her friends who have passed. If you guys feel compelled to donate, we would absolutely love that. And then the high of the week is that it is Nugget's birthday. And when I say birthday, I really mean adoption day, but I am just, I literally cried this morning once I realized, because he is just the most precious baby and has brought so much joy in my life. And those stupid stickers on the back of people's car where it's who saved who? That's how I feel. Nugget saved me, and he is my king. And then to get into a deep dive, I guess I will talk to you guys about this recent collaboration I did. I feel like I mentioned it in an episode. I don't know if I actually did it as my deep dive, but if I did, I apologize. I'm going to get into my collaboration with Muscle Tech, and I want to talk about it because I feel like it's just so aligned for me. I don't know. I don't even know how they found me. I think through my manager. But they're just this incredible, supplement protein company that I've been working with for a few months now. And I really, really, really love their products. I genuinely use them pretty much every single day. So it is just it's such a nice collaboration to have, because when you really truly believe in someone's products and you're so passionate about it, I really feel like it translates. So this collaboration I actually posted it a couple days ago on my page. So I don't know if you guys saw it. And it was for a new product of theirs. And I got paid my highest rate yet, which is super exciting. For this full collaboration, I got $4K. We're all about the money transparency here. So no gatekeeping, girl bossing. And yeah, so I was just really fucking stoked for that, because that is the most I've ever gotten paid ever. And they DM'd me. We speak via the DMs, but they also go through my manager. But they DM me and they were like, "You're genuinely one of our favorite people to work with. We absolutely love your content. You kill it every single time. If you ever need anything, here's my direct email." Just so nice, and just made me feel so valued as a creator, and just makes me want to support them even more. So that's a really, really fun collaboration for me. And it's just, I feel like it's really aligned as I'm getting into more of the fitness side of things. So yeah, really excited about that. And that is the deep dive. I won't hold you guys any longer with the boring single person intro. But I hope you guys love this episode and enjoy. I'll see you on the other side. All right, guys, we are on with Lissette. Lissette, how are you today?
I am so good. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited. I, of course, have stalked you for weeks now. I'm so glad that we're finally being able to do the podcast. I love what you're doing, but for the audience that doesn't know so much about you, give them a little bit of a rundown into who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Lissette, or LC, and I founded Influence with Impact. And we work both on the brand side, helping brands and agencies strategize on their influencer campaigns, and then on the creator side, helping them with their business as a business coach and really helping them navigate all things creator economy, working with brands, and just knowing your worth.
I love that. And I feel like it's kind of like you would be like stupid not to recognize the kind of industry that influencer marketing is right now. I mean, it's a multi-billion dollar industry, and so many people are struggling to know their worth in this industry. So I really love that that's what you are kind of aiming towards. But
Yeah.
so kind of before we kind of get into that side of things, what led you into this path?
Yeah, so I actually, this year is my 10-year career anniversary. In 2012, I started in the PR space, so public relations. For those not familiar, we basically work with media and press, and we give them stories about our clients and why our clients should be featured. And then along the way, I was always like the token millennial at every job I had in the PR advertising space. So they're like, you must know social media. Of course I do. And then what happens is working with press, right, trying to get these big publications to feature your articles. Eventually, we realized that you really wanted influencers to talk about your brands and to feature your product, your events, etc. So all of that together is kind of what built influencer marketing as we knew it. And I got kind of, lucky to be trailblazing a lot of that. Two agency jobs I had before leaving and doing my own agency full time. I was at Havas, which is a big advertising agency, and was helping them kind of develop what their influencer marketing piece of the company looked like. And then worked at Ogilvy, which is the biggest agency in the world, and I was a director of influencer marketing. So really have a big agency background, helping with brand strategy, creative strategy, and then translating forward. But the nice thing is, always along the way, I was my own creator. So I've always had that duality of both sides. It's why I've been leading programs in the advertising world. It's why I've had good relationships as a creator, because I've seen the other side. So all that together is kind of where we are now. And truthfully, I love being on both sides, because today I still get to pay influencers and get paid as an influencer.
The duality is honestly the sweet spot. And I feel like I can relate so much because I really had that very similar progression. Always worked in marketing for marketing agencies here in South Florida, while also always being an influencer myself until Olivia and I launched our own agency, which is called Mood. So I love that we have this really, really similar progression.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like a lot of our audience is aspiring influencers. We always get a lot of questions on like how to become an influencer, like where to start, how to, pick a niche. So I'm really interested on your side of it, how you kind of grew that following. Like, let's speak a little bit more about your personal influencer journey.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is I started a blog in 2013, but I didn't actually make any money until 2016. And one of the biggest reasons for that is when I first started, and I think a lot of creators do this, you kind of just do it because it's fun, you want to express yourself and just kind of find a slice of the internet pie. I think nowadays a lot of people go into it more intentionally, potentially wanting to make money because they see that there's money to be made. So it's almost become like a career path, versus back then it was kind of like just a hobby. And the biggest difference is when I decided to take myself more seriously and say, this isn't just a hobby, I want to actually monetize this, make it into a part of my career, etc. The difference is you have to start creating with a little more intention and strategy. I think strategy is the icky word that a lot of people don't want to hear unless you've been in a strategist role in marketing, etc. But it's so necessary. And all I really mean by strategy, and a lot of the clients I work with, is we got to know who we're talking to, what we're doing, and why it matters now. So for example, if you really love creating fashion content, the way you go from business to hobby is, yeah, I love creating fashion content. I'm going to make it and it's super fun. But when you start realizing, well, why am I creating fashion content and who for? Maybe there's something about, well, I create all this colorful fashion content because I want to encourage women to be more confident.
Mhm.
Maybe it's about helping give your time back by helping you shop without the stress.
Mhm.
All of that, it's not like you have to pick a niche. That's definitely not necessary. But you have to pick intention and move forward with that. And when you do, that's when it clicks for you to actually start growing more, because It's not just you're putting out content because it's fun. You're putting out intentional content that's going to find the right people, so you're growing. And then if you do want to monetize, working with brands, they now get it. They know exactly what you're about, and they're going to hire you because you've built trust with people for that. Or B, because I never want anyone to only work with brands. When you build other revenue streams, maybe you're launching your own product, your own services, etc., people trust you for XYZ reason. If you're just another fashion blogger or you're another category in the thousands, you're not actually going to build a business from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people want to go to your page and know that, like, know what they're getting every time. They're getting, something about sustainability, or they're getting, winter fashion looks, or like really, or something really trendy. Like people love, there's certain creators that, really stick to trends. So I love that you said that. And I love that you're bringing up strategy as well, because I feel like what we see in, like in social media is like, oftentimes we see people blow up overnight, and sometimes they do just get lucky. Unfortunately, you are most likely not going to be one of those people. I pray that you are 100%, but it does really require, understanding the algorithm, seeing what works. And I feel like that's what I really love about TikTok and how it's such an incredible platform, because there are influencers and creators that focus on strategy and like showing you how to blow up and showing you the trends. And like, I mean, if you wanted to become an influencer, the playbook is out there. You really just have to just look for it and follow these strategies. So I love that you said that. And then I think the next kind of facet of this is a lot of people don't know how to transition from, great, I'm getting a bunch of free stuff, to, okay, now I'm charging. And I know, and on this podcast, we are huge about like money transparency, rate transparency. We do a deep dive every episode where we go into a collaboration, talk about how much we got paid for it, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like a lot of people don't know how to value their content. And of course, it gauges so much, based on engagement rates and, niche or whatever it may be. But I'm kind of curious if you have just some like standard notes for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited because a lot of what I focus on has been money for so long. So we actually have a literal calculator that helps creators, and it's based off of industry averages, how we recommend negotiating and everything. So that's something you can always check out. But to give you the philosophy behind what we built and how I've always taught the concept is it's what's interesting is like people struggle to go from gifted to paid because they don't understand. That tells me they don't understand what they're doing. They don't understand the value of what they're doing. And I don't think it's really about, okay, now I'm going to get paid versus gifted. You have to start understanding the value of the transaction that you're having with the brand, right? Because sure, if I'm going to get gifted a 1 week stay somewhere, like maybe the value of that is great. You still have to pay taxes on it. So really understanding what you are giving. And for us, it's one, understand the deliverables. So for you to guarantee anything to anyone, right? A brand can send you something just for pure, check it out, no pressure. Great, I may accept it. But if they're saying you need to give us XYZ amount of posts, that guarantee is called deliverables. It is what I am signing on paper that I'm going to give you. So you need to really look at what are the deliverables and where do I stand on a spectrum of that. So we've always said this kind of in the industry, and this is, again, brand side, we're budgeting this way. So this is why you need to be thinking about charging this way. 1 to 5% of someone's audience is what we're going to consider just at the base, right? So that deliverable, just straightforward. Hey, I need you to make an Instagram post. If you've got 10,000 followers, then there's a chance. If you don't have great engagement, we may start at the 1%. If you have amazing engagement, we budgeted up the 5%. So that's how people with less than 10,000 followers are still making $1,000. So you really want to start there for all the deliverables, but doesn't stop there, because that would still actually be a little bit lower than you probably could be making. And after deliverables, you have to start looking at everything else that the project is asking. Every single project is going to have usage of your content. Every single project, if the brand didn't tell you that, you have to ask because it will be in your contract. And then this is where creators always reach out and they're like, I saw in the contract that they want to own my content. Well, why didn't you ask up front? So that's stuff that, again, you need to be compensated for. So brand side, a lot of us usually budget percentages. So let's say that you need a brand, that a brand's asking to use your content for a year. Then it may be more standard that 20 to 30% of whatever you're already charging for those base deliverables, add a tax for that, right? So that's a little bit more. I always like to say the most arbitrary part is usage, but the reason to charge is, again, what makes people understand how to charge. And you're charging because using your content is now a different ask. For me to just post something, great, you're taking advantage of my audience and my trust. For me to give you the rights to my content, you're now using me as a content creator, and you're using this asset, this thing I made, to make you more money. So I need to charge more money. And also something I like to tell people is, let's say a brand is using your content as an ad for a year. All their competitors are going to see you in that ad. Maybe you're still not working with them, right? Like, we only have that one post, but they're going to use my content for a year. Well, if you work with Sephora, Ulta's going to see that because the algorithm, they're just going to see their competitors' stuff. Ulta will not hire you because they think you're working with them. So there's that business risk of you potentially losing out on business. It's not a bad thing. Again, maybe you would love to be featured in that way by someone like a Sephora in this example, but you still want to charge for it because you're missing out on what someone else could pay you down the road. Mm-hmm. So that's usage. Kind of third, top three things to charge for, really, is what we're breaking down, is that exclusivity. And that, again, is something that will always be in your contract. Look for it because it will be there. And it is very normal for you to have a few weeks of exclusivity. I actually don't recommend people charge for that because it's just standard. If you're going to post about my brand, then I don't want you to post about my competitor within a week. That would be weird. So it's okay if someone's asking for like 7 days. When people start asking for a month, 3 months, what does that do? That misses out on you making money with other brands. So that's why we charge for that. And how people are charged for that, that's what I say on average I see is people will charge about half of their base rate because it's just easier to calculate. So you're thinking, all right, well, how much money will I miss out in 3 months? I'm just going to add that in. So those are kind of like the big three. And then everything else that kind of goes into your calculations. And again, we do have a deeper guide on that. You just have to think about the project. So production costs. Again, I'm a business owner. I'm a creator. So what are my costs? Do I have a virtual assistant that's helping me shoot my content? That cost needs to be added in. Do I have a professional photographer that I actually work with? Professional videographer? All these things do need to be added up. Also things like rush fees, because again, if I'm a full-time creator, yeah, maybe I could turn something around in 2 days. If I have a full-time job, I'm not. I'm gonna need 2 weeks. So for me to do that, for me to turn something around quickly, I'm gonna charge you for that. And all these things that I'm kind of saying out loud, why I like going deeper into them is because, again, when it comes to negotiation, and we have a lot of resources on this, it's not about, this is my rate, and I calculated this super high rate because your project is super complicated. You actually have to tell a brand why you're charging. Okay. And in an example, we have a creator who we work with who has about 15,000 followers, but her bare minimum to even start working with her is 1,500. And if you hear that out loud, sometimes people are like, what? That's crazy. I only get paid $100. And you're like, well, no, because this creator, they just regularly work with a professional photographer. And a lot of the costs associated with her work and business is translated over to the brand. So all this in mind, you just have to really know why you're charging. And that's how you ask for more money.
I love that. And I really love that you pointed out the idea of breaking it down, because I feel like a lot of people are like, how am I going to tell this brand I'm charging $4,000 for this project? And, they're going to laugh in my face. I feel like we see a lot of that. And I feel like breaking it down is the perfect way to do that, because the brands are businesses. They understand how businesses work. They understand usage. They understand exclusivity. And then when you're treating yourself as a business too, they have no choice but to respect that. And of course, some brands are going to walk away, but I feel like it's so much more important that we let them walk away than to kind of undervalue our work.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and I feel like, so the next part to that, and what I kind of see a lot on, social media, people saying is like, where do I find the brands that understand this, that respect creators and are willing to pay this? I've spoken, of course, about like the influencer platforms and whatnot, but I'm kind of curious to, what your knowledge is on that.
I can promise you every brand that's reaching out to you has money. Every brand that you see working with influencers or even working in the social media space, they have money. So it's not really about finding the brands that have money. It's about asking and telling a brand why they need to hire you for something. It's the same way, you know, when you're applying for a job in outside of social media, just having to kind of define why. You know, everyone has a cover letter. That's a pitch letter that you would send a brand. So really starting there. But I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that people think that, I'm only getting people reaching out to me who want to gift me stuff. Yeah, because those are the people trying to mass email influencers. If you're only getting opportunities inbound right to you, then that tells me it's likely you are not exploring more paid avenues. So if someone's reaching out for gifting, tell them I need formal compensation because X. Then we do have a template for that. And really, because that's you telling them next time you reach out to me, you're going to use some of that money I know you have. And then two,
or don't come at all.
Yeah, exactly. But two, you do have to spend time pitching yourself. And what I mean by pitching, I think there's a misconception that you pitch, you're going to make money. No. Pitching is building relationships with the brands who you want to work with. So where do you look? Literally, I always tell people, like, shop your desk, shop your beauty cabinet, shop your medicine cabinet, your kitchen. There are brands that exist. Again, maybe some of them.
Target. I shop Sephora. Like Target, like just shopping normally. And I'm like, ooh, I want to work with this brand. So
exactly. Yeah. Look throughout your lifestyle, look throughout the things that you've influenced people on, right? And really from there, you start building the relationship with the brands. And again, every brand is different. So some of them maybe literally haven't really thought about influencer marketing, but hey, could you be the first person to actually educate them on that? Yeah. And some of my best and favorite relationships and campaigns have come from that. Last year, I worked with one of my favorite apps. And when I was working with them, they said, we actually have never really paid influencers. We've only done ambassadorships. You know, everyone hates the word ambassadorship because that means you're just getting commission. And I said, well, great. You know, if you're ever interested, I'm here. I would love to get on the phone with you and just tell you like what it would be like to work with me. And that developed into a very high paying relationship, it is rarer for them to just invest all in the first time. But how we did that and why that worked is knowing that they were beginners. You kind of have to know, all right, put your business and marketing hat on. Because at the end of the day, you're a marketer, right? And say, if a brand has never worked with influencers before, I'm going to give them a kind of low risk option. Instagram stories, low risk. It probably will be more affordable. People maybe can click on stuff. So like, it'll be great. A higher risk is I'm also going to get you in my newsletter. I'm actually going to do 2 reels, 2 TikToks, and like really buff it in and tell them why that would be really cool. They may go with one if they're a little bit of a lower risk company. But in this exact example, they were like, why not? Let's just go with the big one. So it's always nice to give people options on how to work with you. And again, when you are reaching out to brands, you just have to keep in mind, I'm building a relationship. And then you'll hear if they're working with influencers, there's an op. If not, how can I tell them what I can do?
Mm-hmm. I love that. And, you know, it's really just showing that if you go the extra mile, it can pay off. Of course, it's difficult, but definitely worth it, especially if you love that company. But even you actually mentioned ambassadorship, which I'm, you know, every person in the social media realm, if you're trying to be an influencer, has heard this word. I personally hate it. I have a template that I use and that I send out that I pretty much, even if I love the company, I just can't do ambassadorships because it just doesn't feel natural to me. And what I kind of tell people is that I consider myself a content creator, not a salesperson, and therefore I'm not going to be pushing out, use code Jessica20 for 20% off. So I'm kind of curious about your take on that.
Yeah. What's so interesting about ambassadorships is that, to your point, again, if I have to guarantee you X amount of content in X amount of way, I need formal compensation for that because, again, why? I'm putting my resources forward to build something for you. Now, there may be brands that you just naturally are using, wearing, interacting with daily. And sure, it's nice to be able to make some commission off of it, but that's on my terms. That's, you know, I decided to post about it. One great example is I'm I wear, literally I'm laughing because I just am obsessed with Beyond Yoga. They've never asked me to post, but they just keep sending me stuff and give me a code. And I'm like, great, this is amazing because I get to make commission when people use my code and people get a discount. It's just like a nice thing that we do within my community, but they have never asked me to post X amount of times because they understand that's just a different ask. So I would say evaluate what brands you're actually willing to be this front-facing ambassador for, and know that when you need to guarantee them anything, that comes at an extra fee. You mentioned sales. That's something to be careful with, because sometimes ambassadorships, some companies who are very, we always say performance marketing brains, meaning they're super into conversion. And if I spend $1, I make $5. Like they think that way, which I totally disagree with, but just some people are old school that way. Old school and new school, because you couldn't pay for ads 5 years ago. But people like that, I think just explaining to them that for me, you could say, hey, I'm just not comfortable anytime I'm measured on sales, and walk away. But there are some people who, it's not that you don't think it'll sell or that that you're not going to convert, but just understand that for you to convert, it's going to take a long time. So you can't just introduce a new product to someone and they're like, I'm buying it. You maybe don't have to talk about it. Like 15 times. So yeah, I think telling the brand that, for me to even get to conversion for you, I'm going to have to talk about this brand for a longer period of time. So if you give me the flexibility to do it at my pace, my amount of content, etc., I'm down to help you. Again, this would be a brand that you really love and you're like, I'm already talking about them, so why not? And then again, like we've been talking about, if it's just the terms don't work for you, then walk away, because it's just not worth it.
Yeah, and it's also about managing expectation, and I found that is so important. And I'm actually just got an email yesterday. I promoted this new company where they had me share like a link, and I am getting paid for the content. It's just stories, and I posted it like yesterday, and I sent over an invoice later in the day for those stories, and they got back and they were like, so bummed no one has used your code yet. Like, how is the engagement on your end? And I was like, the engagement was fine on my end. This is the first time I posted about your product ever. It was 2 stories. I don't really, I'm sorry if I did not manage the expectation accurately, but I don't know, personally, I just thought it was like common knowledge that people need to see something 7+ times for it to really register. So something that I like to say, and, to help me manage expectations with brands, is that I'm charging for like brand awareness and brand credibility, because, they might not buy it right now, but if they see an ad for it later on down the line, they're gonna be like, oh, I think Jessica posted about that. Let me go ask her if she really liked it. And then that's when the sale will convert. It's not gonna be just because I have a few thousand people watching my stories doesn't mean you're gonna get a few thousand sales from that clip. Yeah. So
exactly. And sometimes it's also a brand problem. Like if you got thousands of clicks on that story and people didn't buy, sounds like they went to your page and just didn't know how to buy, user experience wasn't good. That's a you problem.
Sounds like a personal problem to me. And it's like it also depends on the product and how I'm speaking about it. And like I feel like with brands, like less is more. Like you can't send influencers like this huge pitch, this huge deck of guidelines and tags and hashtags. Like it really needs to feel organic to the creator, and how you're hiring the creator. Like you need to trust them to do it how it's organic to them and how they feel like it'll be perceived the best with their audience as well. Because, people can spot an ad out from a mile away. So it needs to just feel as organic as possible. And that's how I've truly noticed my best partnerships, because I post about it when I'm not required, and people actually see me using the product when it's not like tagged and in front of the camera. So I think that's really interesting, and I'm glad that we covered that. And then I feel like, so let's talk about your company, and just tell me a little bit more about that. I know you have like a small team, so I would love to kind of just talk about like your personal entrepreneurship journey and with that as well.
Yeah. Which is crazy. I was just talking about this. One of the biggest changes in my business over the last year was actually hiring my first fully full-time person. And now we've grown so much ever since. And what's funny is I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I could care less about owning my own business, but along the way, and of course I kind of led with my career story, I was building our influencer business part within all these other big agencies. Like we talk a lot about in marketing, your capabilities deck, which tells potential clients what we can do for you. I was literally from scratch building this for these huge agencies, and I realized, like, why am I not doing this just for myself?
Yeah.
And I think that was the first moment that I realized, oh, I guess I am an entrepreneur. I've just been doing it under the label of someone else.
Yeah.
So I decided this in 2018. It was actually the first time that I started taking on freelance clients on the side, right? So I had my full-time job. That was the year I also got my coaching certification. So I started to get my coaching clients here and there. I also started getting freelance where I would like run other brands' influencer campaigns on the side. I was kind of doing that for a little bit to test the waters. So in terms of like entrepreneurship, I think it is nice for you to get that proof of concept that what I'm trying to do is working while still having other types of safeties. So whether it is that you've saved up enough money to like go play and see what sticks, or if you're still doing it as a side hustle, which is what I did. I took the side hustle route. And of course, I started to look at numbers and I'm like, well, as a content creator alone, I can already just like, I couldn't replace my corporate salary because I was deep in corporate world, or I was making six figures and deep six figures. But I was like, okay, well, I can get there. If I can do this in 1 year, what can I do in 3? So that was my thinking. And in 2019 at the end, so remember the holidays in 2019, I said, I'm leaving and I'm going to full-time run my own business. Of course, the scary thing is 2020 happened and I had already quit my job, and then the pandemic is happening. And one of my first clients was a huge travel brand. And the problem is we were launching a cruise line and the launch was in March of 2020. So that got canceled literally the week before we were launching this huge brand. And that was really scary because I realized, like, what have I done? But what's interesting is that in the realm of what I do, I actually, in many ways, the pandemic worked in my favor. And I was very fortunate for that because a lot of layoffs happened, right? So a lot of companies didn't know if they would survive a pandemic, so they had to lay off a lot of people. And then consultants like me were brought in because we still don't know that we can hire a full-time person, but can we have you for 10 hours a week? Sure thing. So that kind of was the one layer, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I knew that consulting wasn't the only thing I wanted my business to do. So I treated from the start my company as almost like mini departments. So we had consulting, we had coaching, and then we also had kind of the content creation piece. And then as I grew my business, I always asked myself, in these different lanes of what I'm doing, how can I build growth? So for example, with consulting, the only way to grow is if I stop trading my time for money. It can't just be me, because if it was just me, then I need more hours in a day to make more money or raise your rates. But that's too easy. That's something that you
can only go too far with that as well.
Exactly. So that's like me being a freelancer, and I wanted to transition into a actual business owner. And then lane number 2 with coaching, I was like, all right, one-on-one coaching with people, I'm still trading my time for money. Can I make a group version? And that's kind of how the group mastermind was born in 2020, which was, I want to be able to work with more people in a coaching setting. So boom, that's how we grew that lane. And then when it came to content creation, I was creating content on my own, right? But aside from, yes, can I raise my rates? I started getting on new platforms. So that year, actually, I started getting paid really well for TikTok, despite TikTok had just started. So it's kind of leading a lot of getting paid on TikTok and what that meant. We had Clubhouse, and Clubhouse started kind of getting popular in 2021. But again, that growth, I was one of the first people to kind of get paid for Clubhouse. And I say one of the first only because we did articles about it.
Oh, wow. See, I didn't even know that was like a thing. So that's
Yeah. So I was kind of leading, like, what does it mean to get paid on Clubhouse? But if I was getting paid on Clubhouse as a speaker, why couldn't I get paid as a public speaker as well? Boom, growth on that. So you're always kind of trying to find like new avenues within that. And then the one thing we actually added in 2021 as a new avenue is, again, you realize in your business, all right, what are the areas of growth? It's not about making money, but it's about growing and expansion, right? So if we've been working over the last year and a half with these amazing creators who are building their businesses, who are charging great, getting a bunch of brand deals, they're probably a little overwhelmed now with the amount of brand deals, trying to navigate that. And I want them, again, not to just work with brands forever. And we realized there were a lot of clients who were at the level of starting a separate revenue stream, starting a product-based business, starting, different services that they were offering. So working with brands, we need to provide a solution for. So that's how talent management came up. And in 2021, we added talent management as a resource for our clients, which again is kind of how we grew the business. But I mentioned hiring someone. So in all this expansion, I of course had contractors here and there. So I could outsource this to this person. This person could help me with consulting campaigns. This person. But the problem is I started to look at numbers, and this is a big thing for entrepreneurs. Like, you got to get deep in your numbers. Whether or not you have an accountant, I don't care. You have to know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I was looking, and then all these contractors put together could have been the salary of one person. So I thought, what would life be like if I just had one full-time person that knew what was going on at all times? That meant I could actually disconnect more and be able to grow more. Because for you to have expansion, you need space. And if you're too busy working, you're not going to grow your business. Mm-hmm. So I hired that one person, super scary, of course, because when you hire a full-time person, with health insurance, all the things happen where, you're like, well, there's no going back now, because if I go back, I'm laying off someone and I'm like leaving someone without a job. Yeah. So scary, but so incredible, because also you just learn what life is like. I keep saying full-time person because it's just a big topic recently, how, even the full-time employee I work with asked for a raise a year later. And I was like, I've never dealt with like someone asking for a raise. And all these little things that I dealt with in corporate world came back to my brain of like, how scary was it when I was asking for a raise? Like, what did I do? And all these things are just part of being a business owner that it's again, I'm not even talking about what I do every day. It's like, how do I run the business? And this happens over time. I told you years to give you timeline. Like 2018 was the hot side hustle, and we're in 2022, and now we're kind of at the level that we are. It will not happen overnight for you. There will be a lot of failure along the way, but you always have to have a vision in mind of like, where am I really trying to go? What's the big picture? Not numbers, just picture. What kind of change am I trying to bring in the world through my business? And then how can I grow each of the little things that we're doing to get us there? So yeah.
And I love how each one was just a slight level up each time. You don't have to fucking go full send into something. You don't need to take massive risks, just like these little leaps of faith to get you where you need to be, which led you to hiring someone full time, which 100% is like the scariest thing, to have someone else's like livelihood as your responsibility. And we have one person that's full-time, as well as one other that isn't full-time, and it's so much responsibility, but it is also so rewarding and also invaluable, because once you have someone that you like fully trust, like you don't have to like proofread the emails that they're sending on your behalf. You don't have to like second guess, are they working hard for me? Do they have my best interests at heart? Like, it has been such a breath of fresh air to have that person on your side and really just be able to enjoy life more and, spend time on the things that you are really inspired by.
Yeah, so, exactly.
And so do you have one full-time person now? Do you have anyone else on your team?
Yeah, so we actually do have 2 people who kind of work with us in that capacity. And then we are now hiring a 3rd person who's currently part-time, and we hope will eventually be full-time. That's another kind of little thing I did. It's almost, I hate using the word trial period, because it's not by any means we're like trialing people, but I do like the idea of having someone work part-time for you and seeing if they are the best match before fully committing. And I think down the road, as we continue growing, yes, we may just straight up hire full-time people. That would be when we know exactly what this one person is going to spend 100% 40 hours a week doing. But I think at the stage of growth, the benefit of having a part-time person in the meantime is the flexibility and the adaptability of them dipping into different parts of your business.
Definitely. And then it's also gives them an opportunity to see, like, because what we always say is that, it has to be a good fit for us, but it also has to be a good fit for you. We want you to be happy here and doing things that inspire you. And in this stage of, a business, they're going to be wearing multiple hats,
Mm-hmm.
And so like, they have to be comfortable with that. They need to be able to, like work quick on their feet and just, be willing to explore different avenues and find like what they're really good at.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that as well. We do the same thing as far as like a part-time. It is, I mean, honestly, it is a trial period for us as well, because I mean, personally, Olivia and I have had, I think we've both had like 5 assistants collectively.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. We just weren't looking for the right things at first. And, you know, like just, you know, wasn't a good fit on their end or our end. So definitely believe in trial periods because it is necessary, especially in such an intimate position. But I am really curious about how you balance all these different projects. Do you use a project management software like Trello or Notion or something?
Yeah, I use Monday.com just across the business. And what's really nice is that, again, you as a CEO, you want to have visibility, but you don't want to be in the weeds of everything. So what's nice is having Monday.com, I get to see projects, I get to see the status of every project and who's owning it, etc. So that's really nice. And then I think just having, again, like a pulse on things. And this is more something that I'm working on, is not being so in the weeds. And I've never been a micromanager. That is something that you can ask people who have worked under me for many years. But I do, just from a level of accountability, think that I need to be involved in everything sometimes. So I'm working on just being a little bit more detached from some of the weeds of everything. But I think project management tools are super important just so you can have that visibility without being so in.
I relate so much because I've also never been a micromanager, but then half of me is also like, should I be managing them more? Like, you know what I mean? Or do I need to just be completely hands off? And another thing that I found with, you know, just having employees is that some people need more management than others. You know, some people thrive being able to just do what they need to do, leave them the fuck alone. And I'm like, hell yeah, that's who I want on my team. And then some people do need a little bit more hand holding, which is really interesting. But, you know, learning these are the kind of things that you learn, you know, by trial and error. And it gives you a better idea of what to look for in the future as well. You know, like the type of employee that you like. Do you like someone that you can manage a bit more, or do you want someone that you can just be like, I don't want to talk to you. I just want to you're getting everything done.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that, because we use Trello personally, and I love that, you know, you can see everything that's going on. I'm also really deep into like our emails. Like I check our emails like constantly. I don't respond personally because I feel like that would mess up the flow of like the employees, because like their stuff that they're handling. But I feel like just seeing the emails coming in, and like I get to know what's going on and like what status, you know, everything is at without actually having to be in the weeds. So
I will say one of the biggest changes for me was not checking emails.
Really?
And that is something I always recommend to people. And what I mean is, I'm not saying ignore your emails forever, but give yourself set times to check emails. So I personally do toward the morning, not as the first thing I do, but as kind of one of the first projects. I'll do like an urgent check-in, meaning I'm scrolling through and seeing if anything was set as urgent. And then before I wrap up at the end of the day, I'm checking emails. What this means is I'm probably spending an hour and a half when I have these sessions. But I think it's actually taken away, it's giving me back so much energy that I was already giving away, being like, let me just double check. Like that is energy that you're expensing, like brain power. So it really has helped me to segment how I read emails. And some of my clients who I think are, and what I mean by clients is like the creators we work with who don't actually need to be checking their emails as often as we do. We actually recommend that they have an away message that says, hey, thanks for reaching out to me. Just so you know, you can expect to hear back from me, you know, in whatever amount of time you want. So for example, we have one creator who hates emails. She only checks it 3 times a week. And her away message says, you can expect a response in 48 hours. If you needed something more, if you need something sooner, please write back with urgent in the headline and I'll probably find it, right? So like she'll just look and see if something said urgent, I'm going to open it. But that's a really nice boundary that you can make. No one's going to judge you for it. If you have an assistant, then of course you can add something in there that's like, if it's urgent, reach my assistant. So really giving yourself as many boundaries as you need. I'll even do that on days when I know I'm going to be super busy. I just set an away message that says, hey, we're busy over here today. If you expect to hear from me, you can expect 72 hours. So just telling people and managing their expectations so I don't feel the need to be checking.
Yeah, you don't feel like there's no like guilt associated there, whatever it may be, the anxiety. It's what
yeah, like I told you so.
Yeah, and honestly, like, no, my toxic trait is like checking my email at like 3 a.m. I'm honestly
oh my gosh,
so bad with that. And then like I see something that like pisses me off, and then I have to respond. I'm like, it's terrible. So, and that is one thing that I have vowed to get better at, like not checking the email like after like actual working hours, and honestly even just setting my phone on like do not disturb so I'm not getting just general notifications has been so helpful, because I realize that I'm checking my phone all the time because I'm seeing shit pop up on the screen. When
yeah,
do not disturb, it's not even coming up, so therefore I'm not even, thinking about it, which little pro tip.
yeah.
But I feel like this has been such a great episode. I've loved everything that you said. It was so full of value. I know that you have a ton of resources, so I would love for you to plug those right now.
Yes, all the plugs. So if you actually go to influencewithimpact.co/link in bio, easiest way to remember. All of the freebies that I talked about or mentioned, we have them there so that people can just easily access that library. And we do have, if you kind of do it at your own pace, created resources. So if you need mini classes on finding that mission, how we talked about at the beginning, finding who do I really want to talk to, we kind of have that on the website. So you can kind of go dig deep in there. And then otherwise, ways of working with us are pretty seasonal. So you just keep an eye out, because we'll launch, is the mastermind open, is enrollment open for XYZ resource. So just keep an eye out, and you can find a ton of freebies also just on our socials.
All right. And what's your personal Instagram as well?
Yeah. So for me, it's Lissette Calveiro. So that's my full name. And then we have Influence with Impact as well.
Okay, great. And that'll also be in the show notes if you guys want to click it from there, as well as on our Instagram per usual. But thank you so much for joining us. Really, this was invaluable information, and we so appreciate it. And we will stay connected.
Thank you. I loved being here. I appreciate you all, and I can't wait.
All right. Bye. We'll talk to you soon.